This is the Art Beauty Podcast, where we tell the real truth about the fake shit. I'm Amber, and today my fabulous and smart co-host is Miss Erika Schwass. She is a science and wellness manager at Consonant, which is a clean beauty brand. And today we are talking about getting better skin through self-pleasure. Now, welcome to the show, Erika. First of all.
Hello. Thank you. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to have you on. And for anybody listening, right off at the top, I feel like for so many people, this is such a taboo subject, but I want you to know, I get a lot of these PR requests and story pitches. And when I first got this one, I was like, okay, this sounds interesting. But when I started to look into the science behind how self-pleasure, how orgasms, how sexual wellness influences our skincare, I was blown away. So before you turn this off, if you're somebody who's like, this really isn't for me, please just listen to this. There was a study that found, I'm just looking here, that those who experience sexual pleasure 3 times a week looked on average 10 years younger than their actual age. My mind was blown by that. And I do want to get into, sort of your pedigree, but for everybody who's listening right now, your skin doesn't know if you're having sex with a partner or by yourself. So this is a really, really wonderful, fascinating topic. Let's introduce you, Erika, because I mentioned before, you are the science and wellness manager at Consonant, but you actually have an incredible pedigree in the healthcare field. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, of course. Well, first of all, thank you. This is my favorite topic to talk about, sex and skin. So, you are making my Friday today. And yes, my background originally was in nutrition and nutraceutical science. So studying kind of topicals and how they affect your skin, as well as food and nutrition. And then I went on to get my master's degree in human health science. And so all of the sort of ways that our body is affected by the world around us is my favorite thing to talk about and study. And so any type of wellness, whether it's what we're putting on our bodies, in our bodies, or, what
we're doing to our bodies,
that's kind of where my passion lies. And so Consonant is all about all of that. So I'm really excited to get into it.
I was fascinated because when I, read some of the literature, why do you think that masturbation is still such and sexual wellness in general, why do we think it's so taboo, right? Because you mentioned before, like we could talk about if this podcast was on sugar in your skin, which we've done before, it's like a no-brainer. But why do you think there is this stigma when it comes to sexual wellness?
Oh gosh, there's such a long history of, if we go back to it, the full anatomy of the female clitoris wasn't even fully discovered until the 2000s. And so the anatomy, the understanding of our own bodies, let alone the whole societal view on female sexual pleasure specifically, oh my gosh, it's been so taboo for so long. It's a wild
I
ride.
I'll start you there. Wait, the anatomy of the clitoris wasn't fully discovered until 2000?
Yeah, around the early 2000s was like the complete sort of drawing and anatomy of the female clitoris really came into the forefront. We dive into all of that in our podcast, The More You Owe. I'm sure we'll get into all of that, but yeah, the taboo, the stigma, and the understanding of how the body works and all of the benefits weren't really brought to the forefront. And as the first skincare company that's talking about this, that connection between sexual health and skin really is just starting to hit the science community. And so now we're starting to see the incredible evidence for what this can do for our skin. So I'm excited to talk about it and sort of uncover that veil.
I'd like to, delve in because listen, I'm sure, most people are kind of like, oh, sure. Like that sort of post-coital, post-orgasmic glow. That's a real thing. But we're not just talking about sort of immediate effects, right? Because there was, like you said, this, or like I learned this study that showed that people looked at 10 years younger than their actual age. Can you talk about some of the science that you're starting to see, and that some of the studies out there that are supporting how sexual wellness can support our skincare?
Absolutely. So there are a lot of different mechanisms at play in this kind of hormonal cascade we see with sexual pleasure. So first is exactly what you mentioned, that kind of immediate result of the vasodilation, or the widening of the blood vessels in our skin, which can create that kind of post-O glow. But there's also long-term benefits of that increased blood circulation. There are studies that show that when the blood in the face is increased, you see less fine lines and wrinkles and visible signs of aging long term. We also see, actually in 2009, Michigan University released a study that showed that sexual release or orgasm increases the amount of estrogen in the bloodstream. And this is extremely important because we know that the amount of estrogen is correlated with collagen production. So we could sort of extrapolate this information and say, hey, as a female ages, as our estrogen levels do decrease and collagen levels decrease, this might be a way to sort of combat some of that aging process and keep our skin really elastic and really vibrant. Also, at any age, what happens when we reach climax, or even not even reach climax, that kind of build up, we see a release of pleasure hormones and happy hormones, serotonin, oxytocin. And we know, again, those studies show that the parasympathetic nervous system that is stimulated when we experience sexual pleasure, that turns off the taps to stress. We see cortisol go down. We see people sleeping better. And all of these things affect the look and function of our skin, how our cells turn over, and, you know, how we age. And so it's not wild to think that the more we are reaching climax or experiencing pleasure, the better we're going to look. And we do see that, like you mentioned, the study, on average, people looked 10 years younger. So that correlation is proved by some of the deeper research into the physiology.
And listen, on this podcast, we talk about a lot of lotions and potions and treatments, right? That are all helping us look our very best, right? But again, I was so fascinated because this is something that, one, you can do for free. You don't even need another person or a thing to do it. It's so readily available to us. Why do you think now it's taken so long sort of for the skincare community? And really, Consonant is one of the first skincare brands that I know of who is really starting to push this messaging about self-pleasure as sort of this ultimate get your glow on.
I think it's been a long time coming. We're starting to see the emergence of self-pleasure brands, but I think it's taken so long for the skincare community to get there. I think partially because of that stigma. A lot of the brands that have monopoly on the industry think of, okay, what are our customers going to think if we start talking about this? But if you know Consonant, so we're a Canadian skincare company. We specialize in natural skincare, really great clinically proven formulations, but we also recognize that great skin comes from more than just the products you're applying. So we're all about wellness practices that will take your regimen beyond the bottle. How do we amplify your skincare products with wellness practices and lifestyle refinements? And so it's absolutely in our wheelhouse. We talk about nutrition, we talk about mental health. Why not talk about sexual health? And so it's kind of part of pulling back this curtain on especially female pleasure for the sake of our skin. And so I think the more empowered our clients can be about all dimensions of wellness, the better their skincare is going to work and the better they're going to feel. And that's what we're about, is giving people that confidence every day.
And I love you. And thank you for making, I mean, really, this kit is aimed at women. You could use it, I'm sure, with a male partner, but I do love that this is really for women. As you were talking about that before, I was thinking men, the idea of male masturbation, I think, is much more socially acceptable. And I'm wondering, do you think that's why, like, men just generally age better? Right? Like, I mean, as you're saying that, I'm like, boy, there's so many silver foxes out there. Is it just because they're having a better time?
We do know scientifically how men's collagen degrades at different rates than women's, and the hormones in male bodies are different than women's. But with the research showing that we have the ability to sort of change those hormone levels may give us some indication on how we can age better and how we can keep the skin healthier for longer, to keep it looking its best long term. So, I mean, it's not wild to think we can harness a little bit of that.
Let's get our groove on, ladies. So do you think, when we're talking about this, is there a difference between when we talk about the skincare benefits and some of the signs that you're seeing? Is there a difference between like, do you have to reach climax? Is it the actual orgasm and release that's stimulating this, or is it sort of, I mean, listen, mom and dad, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry. Although I grew up in a very liberal household, so we talked about sex. Thank you for that. But like, you're not always going to orgasm. Or
There's definitely benefits.
if you do, good luck. I mean, but I think for a lot of women, when we talk about it, right, you're not always reaching orgasm, but it doesn't mean that you're not reaching levels of excitement and pleasure. And is that enough to release those hormones, or do you have to orgasm?
So there is definitely benefit to the whole process of leading up to, but there's more significant benefits of actually reaching climax. And when we look at studies with partnered sex, especially, so of course the literature is a little bit lacking with the spectrum of genders we see. Unfortunately, we see it's sort of cisgendered men and cisgendered women studies. So when we look at partnered sex in that context, we see that the woman is not reaching orgasm nearly as often as the man. There is this orgasm gap, and we aren't quite sure the reason, but we do see a higher rate of orgasm during self-pleasure. So that's why we think promoting this sort of self-pleasure dimension of it is going to be more successful at getting those skin benefits.
Well,
I think something that's also,
keep going.
Sorry, I was just going to say, right now, in a world where partnered sex can be a little bit more risky if you are meeting new people with COVID out there, I think this is a great opportunity to take what our government is even sometimes telling us. There's actually a guide, for at least for Canadians, that teaches us how to practice safe sex in the context of COVID. And so right now we know that you are your safest sex partner in that context. So why not make the most out of it and have a little bit of solo sex time?
Yeah, you're also going to be the longest sexual partner that you will ever have, right? It is with yourself. That's the longest sexual relationship that you could ever have. You might as well make the most of it, which is so great. And so I do want to talk, because just in time, for Valentine's Day, we've got, which is like all about love, blah, blah, blah. You've got this kit, the Come and Glow kit, which is amazing. But it's really designed, right? So you don't have to give yourself self-love. You don't need to have another person involved in helping yourself get your glow on.
Yes. If you know Consonant, we always say that great skin's a bit more than great skincare. So we're always trying to pair our natural skincare products with lifestyle practices that are going to really help take you to the next level. So this kit features everything that you need to sort of set the scene and take advantage of this solo sex superpower. So in this Come and Glow kit, you're getting not only our Hydro Extreme charcoal sheet masks, which are a fantastic, there you have them right in front of you. These are a sheet mask that's infused with our award-winning Hydro Extreme serum, which is clinically proven to outperform hyaluronic acid. So this is like that instant glow. You're also getting a mood setting candle called Get Clit.
Wait, can I just show this to people who are watching this? It is a gorgeous scent. But when I first got this, I was like, oh, Get Lit. Then I put on my glasses and I noticed there's a little C there, which maybe you can see. And I was like, oh, Get Clit. Very clever there. And it does, it smells gorgeous.
Yeah. So this is so you can light your own fire. It's a really sensual scent. Now, we had our team try to describe this to people, and we had it described as like baking cookies in like a sexy cabin with like leather furniture. And so you can imagine this very sultry, sophisticated scent we have going on.
I have to say, I do want to talk about it because when we talk about candles, and it's really hard, we don't have smell-o-vision yet. There's no way to really convey that. It's interesting that you're saying baking cookies, because to me, it kind of had the oh my gosh, I'm having amnesia right now. The Santal, right? Le Labo. It kind of gave me that sort of like
Yeah.
like a very sophisticated scent. Some candles smell like, I mean, I'm sorry, Yankee Candle, but Yankee Candle, it's like, I don't want to smell like that. This is going to make your boudoir smell exactly like a boudoir should.
Yes. This is a
Gorgeous.
fantastic scent, but also it's made with natural scent ingredients curated from a fantastic Toronto-based candle making company called Lawn. And it's all soy coconut wax. So you're not getting any of those harmful fumes up into your air.
Right.
And then finally, we have an amazing pleasure toy, and we have made 3 versions of this kit now with different pleasure toys. So you can take your pick. And one of them is the Lilo Sona, which is a clitoral massager. So excellent for anyone who prefers kind of clitoral stimulation. We have versions with some other fantastic sex toy products so that you can, figure out what you like and achieve that kind of post-O glow for yourself at home. And the last thing that this kit comes with is a podcast that Consonant produced with a sexologist called The More You Owe. So you can scan the QR code, listen to this podcast, and it's everything that you need to know about female sexuality, the human body. We dive into the history and the stigmas, and then every podcast episode finishes with a guided practice so that it's kind of like Headspace meets masturbation. So you get to have this kind of curated experience and almost like a follow along. So it is absolutely everything that you need to sort of delve into the skincare benefits of self-pleasure.
You also forgot one of, I think, the most important parts. So this is for anybody out there who does not live alone. You thought of everything. It comes with a do not disturb door hanger. Thank you for that. Right.
Yeah.
No more
Skincare
sock
and
on the door
process.
handle. And listen, what's really nice about this is depending on, we have so many different types of relationships right now. So we are talking about this in a self-pleasure, but this can also be a great way to, spice up things with your partner.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's, as we were talking about before, the body doesn't discriminate against sex you're having with yourself or with a partner. There are benefits to both. And I think as long as everyone's having a good time and wants to be there, then why not make it a team activity?
Oh, that's amazing. And by the way, these kits, they start at $75. I mean, let's talk about, this is why I got so excited about this, because number one, I found great product. I think that it's a fabulous price point. And there's serious science behind this, that those are the things that it's not just this clickbaity kind of like, oh my gosh, yes, masturbate for better skin. There is actual science behind this that is showing you that there are clinically proven positive effects on our skin by engaging in either self-pleasure or sexual intercourse with a partner. It seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, you're so right, Amber. And I think the interesting thing is this can be paired with a practice that you're already doing. So if you're already someone who's taking advantage of self-pleasure, add your skincare regimen to it. Apply a mask and masturbate, and then you're sort of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And it's a super fun way to get your skincare regimen in every day.
So were you involved in like when you when Consonant as a company, and kudos again to you, because what a brave thing to do in an area that is seemingly taboo. What were those initial marketing meetings like? I gotta know.
Yeah, at first I want to say, like, let's go back to our first health class where everyone got to say the word penis and like everyone giggled a little. It was a little like that in a corporate setting. It's kind of funny to be talking about self-pleasure, but honestly, everyone got on board so quickly. And the CEO of Consonant is a man, and you know what? He said, it's about time. We should be talking about this. We should be breaking this stigma. And everyone got on board so fast. And it is so common now to be kind of just talking about masturbation. I mean, it's so much part of our ethos to kind of get rid of this stigma and just be honest about skincare, that it just feels very natural to be talking about it in the context of wellness, because it should just be part of that conversation, as easy it is to talk about sugar in skin,
Right,
masturbation and
nutrition.
self-pleasure in skin is
Were you
right up
surprised
that
when you
alley.
heard, right? Because I read, I think through some of your literature that it was when you guys were doing research that there was only about 50% of women who were masturbating. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, a Canadian study showed that less than 50% of women were masturbating regularly. And I'm sure it extends into the US as well. But I think people, especially from older generations, haven't quite jumped on this bandwagon of regular self pleasure or taking the time for themselves. And so we definitely wanted to shed a light on that. And I think it opens up the conversation when you talk about it from the context of skin. All of a sudden, it's more accessible to people and doesn't feel as scary to talk about when
Right.
we talk about additional benefits, because people get that. People like their skincare routine and want to talk about the products they're using. So if you give them an in to talk about that through the lens of your skincare regimen, it feels a little bit more approachable.
Right. Is this something that you're seeing? You mentioned like that the older generation, it has been maybe slower to, or maybe it's something that we weren't discussing as much. Do you find that the consumers of this are younger in general?
It's everyone. Yeah, we've had, all across the board, people have been really excited, whether they're sort of younger and they're maybe just getting into it, and this is perhaps the first pleasure tool they've purchased for themselves. And then some of the people that have, their arsenal of products already, and this is just sort of adding to the fun. Yeah, it's really nice to see people come to us and thank us for talking about it and creating it. And I think our podcast has a little bit of something for everyone. So even if you feel like you know it all and you already talk about this, there's always, different pieces of the puzzle that you can learn and incorporate.
I was going to ask you, like, do you have any tips for people who are like, okay, I'm not a regular masturbator, but I want to get into this?
I think just, yeah, find what you like. Listen to our podcast.
I
It's
was
the
going to say,
first
yeah,
place to go, because it really does start from the beginning. Why is this something that's hard to talk about? Why does female anatomy make it a little bit different than those with different anatomy? How can we get into the mental space that kind of gets us ready
right.
to have this experience with ourselves? And it sort of walks you through it all, because people sometimes don't know where to start, and it can be kind of scary to get out of your own head. And if you are dealing with this societal stigma of self-pleasure, then it feels sometimes wrong to some people. So just getting comfortable talking about it and exploring is a great place to sort of start to dive in.
And I love the idea that you have this guided meditation for masturbation, right? Or guided, what would you call it? Like a guided practice? How did you phrase it?
Yeah, guided practice. You got it.
I am obsessed with that. I want to thank you so much for being on. If people want to know more about this, where should they go?
Always consonant.com. We have an arsenal of articles on this. You can also go to our Instagram at Consonant Life. And then always our podcast is available on all the major podcast platforms, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. So you can listen to The More You Owe is the podcast all about this kind of skin superpower.
And thank you so much. And I really want to encourage people again. I know this can be a taboo or uncomfortable subject. I'm hoping, again, because it's a podcast, right? And most of us listen to podcasts by ourselves, that you were brave enough. I want to thank you for everybody who's listening, that you were brave enough to kind of make it through, especially if this was something that you weren't sure about. Again, I'm telling you, there is science behind this. And I know you, my listeners, really care about your skin. This is yet another tool in your arsenal, whether or not you have the kit, whether or not you have, this is something that you can do by yourself, essentially for free. So it's just a wonderful way to go into it. And I do encourage everybody to look into these scientific studies, because when I saw some of them, I was absolutely just blown away. I mean, 10 years younger by having sex. Sign me up.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today about this. I think it's so important, and for encouraging your listeners to get into it. But it was such a pleasure talking to you, Amber, and I appreciate it.
Oh, it was such a pleasure talking to you, Erika. And if you listening at home have questions that you'd like me to pass along to the team at Consonant, I'm happy to do so. You can email me at hello@artbeautypodcast.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and here on YouTube at Art Beauty Podcast. And as always, we will see you next Tuesday. By the way, Mother Nature is about to take a big white dump on New York City. So I know what I'm going to be doing this weekend. Bye now.
So perfect.